Hey all y'all, this is Keith. Welcome again to Keith Speaks. This is short. Just thinking back, and I was remembering as a child, it was always said what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Maybe it was the 70s. People just had a different take on how people treated each other. The saying is an idiom describing the principle of equal treatment, fairness, and reciprocal standards. It implies that a rule, privilege, or consequence applied to one person should equally apply to another in a similar situation, emphasizing parity in relationships or policies. What I have come across is one of the most glaring double standards in modern public discourse, and it's one that almost nobody in mainstream media will touch directly. The asymmetry is structural, not accidental. Goyim, the plural, and goy, singular, literally means cattle or nations in its applied cultural usage. It's a term that reduces non Jewish people to a subhuman category. The benign translation is simply Gentile or non Jew, but the way it functions in practice, particularly in Orthodox and culturally insular communities, carries the same othering weight as any ethnic slur directed at any other group. Context matters, but so does the power of the word to dehumanize. The double standard is provable, not theoretical. If a black public figure used a term for white people that carried that kind of loaded meaning, it becomes a news cycle. If a Latino commentator used a reductive term for non Latinos, same result. The machinery of outrage activates, but goyim gets used openly, in comedy, in casual conversation, in online spaces. And the same institutions that would mobilize the Anti Defamation League over a cartoon or a tweet are completely silent. The reason is straightforward. The definition of what counts as a slur is controlled by the same institutions that protect Israel from criticism. The ADL doesn't just fight anti Semitism, it defines the boundaries of what language is acceptable about Jewish identity and what language is acceptable from Jewish identity. Those boundaries are not drawn symmetrically. The International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti Semitism, which is not historically factual, but which has been adopted by governments, universities, and corporations, explicitly conflates criticism of Israeli government policy with hatred of Jewish people. That's a deliberate collapse of a meaningful distinction. It means you can be labeled anti Semitic for saying the Netanyahu government committed war crimes, a political statement about a government, while someone using goyim in a derogatory context faces no equivalent institutional sanction because there's no equivalent definitional framework protecting the target group. Some of this traces to text, passages in the Talmud and other religious writings that, if they appeared in any other religious tradition scripture and were applied to Jewish people, would be called hate speech and covered extensively. The same media institutions that will report on extremist passages in Islamic texts or Christian nationalist rhetoric apply a completely different standard when the source is Jewish religious tradition. That inconsistency isn't accidental, it's enforced. What this creates in practice is a one way ratchet. Criticism flows freely in one direction and gets institutionally suppressed in the other. And then the very existence of the suppression gets used as proof that the criticism must be hateful. Because why would it need to be suppressed otherwise? It's circular logic that protects itself. None of this means that hatred isn't real for many groups. It absolutely is, and it has a horrific history. But the conflation of institutional protection of a political state with the protection of a people from hatred is a deliberate strategic move. And calling it out isn't hatred, it's pattern recognition, which as you know, is exactly what they're trying to prevent and exactly what I do. This is Keith. Again, this is Keith Speaks. As always, thank you for visiting my channel and listening. Please comment, share, subscribe, and keep asking questions. Keep having conversations. Keep using your voice.